Welcome back to the Beer Sherpa. I am Danimal, and today we are going to be taking a little trip to a coffee shop. Not really, but I mean, we are going to be talking about the one, the only Blonde Barista. This is a beer we've had on tap for a good little bit, and we first started out working with a local place and developed a beer, and it's gone over pretty well. People kind of flock for it. Blonde Barista is a blonde ale, and it's not just blonde ale, it's a coffee blonde ale. This is a style we've not yet talked about. Blonde ales are generally probably one of the most approachable styles for those individuals that are new to the craft beer world. These types of beers are well-rounded. There's no distinct hoppiness, no distinct malt, no real frills, unless you add something to it like we have with the coffee. Blonde ales, like several other styles, have low IBUs. IBUs are international bitterness units, basically a scale in which we can kind of tell just exactly how bitter a beer is going to be. And because of this low IBU, it really honestly makes these beers extremely approachable, as I've said before. So you might be thinking to yourself, if you are a beer connoisseur or new to it, well, what is the difference between a blonde ale and, let's say, a cream ale? Well, cream ales utilize corn. And despite the fact that they use the same basic characteristics on making the similar style beer, the only big difference between the two styles is the adjunct corn. With Blonde Barista, we also utilize coffee in order to bring in something that is not just approachable, but something that is just warm and comforting. I mean, personally, I love my coffee. I like going to coffee shops, and this beer is just amazing. It's light on the palate, it smells wonderful, and we'll get into that here in just a second. All right, so here we go. We got our pour. Man, that was a good pour. I literally swung by the brewery yesterday to pick up a crowler of it, and it kept real well. Bartender filled it right up to the brim, and as soon as you pour this beer, you can smell it. And if you are someone who loves coffee, you're someone who likes toffee, caramel, those are the big notes that you get when you take a whiff of this particular beer. It is just amazing. Now, normally a blonde ale is going to have a little bit more of a pale color. If you guys can see, this is more of a caramely style of color here, and it is a combination of the malts we use as well as the addition of the coffee itself. The coffee comes through pretty strong. So if you are somebody who loves coffee but don't really feel like something like a porter or a stout, this is honestly the beer for you. It smells, man, just like a coffee house. Just so cozy. So before we take our first tastes, as we always do, let's take a look at what went into making this beer. So we're going to take a look at the grain build. We're going to take a look at the hops, the coffee that we used, as well as the yeast itself. So, in terms of grains, we're utilizing actually 5 grains on this particular beer. So first and foremost, we have the raw 2-row malts. This style of malt is going to give us a clean, sweet taste, and it kind of provides a mild taste like you would expect in a blonde ale. Nothing too crazy, nothing over the top, something very well balanced. This is what we're looking for here. We use the Carapils, which is good for mouthfeel as well as head retention. The Cara foam for body and stability, as well as a subtle, delicate malt character, as well as head retention. We also use biscuit rye malt. This is going to give us the toasty notes that complement the coffee that we add in. It's going to give big biscuit forward flavors. And then lastly, we utilize the acidulated malt for a little bit of lactic acid thrown in there for just a touch of sour. So, in terms of hops, we are utilizing for the first time the Chinook hop. Chinook hops are mostly used for West Coast IPAs. Uh, West Coast IPAs are going to tend to be pretty spicy, get piney notes on it, as well as some touches of grapefruit, which is what we can kind of anticipate with this particular hop in this particular beer. The reason why the brewers decided to use this is because, well, with the spicy notes and the piney notes, it really kind of complements what we're trying to do with the addition of the coffee there. And it's also going to give us some clean bitterness, but not an overwhelming amount of bitterness in order to really kind of fit that style, that blonde ale that you can't really pick out that malt character. You can't really pick out that hop character. It's just kind of there, but not there. So obviously, Blonde Barista is a coffee blonde ale. So with this particular beer, we made a little bit of a partnership with a local coffee place called the Coffee Cabin in Cherville, Indiana. And we utilized this particular coffee during the brewing process in order for us to get those characters out of the particular coffee that we get from the Coffee Cabin. And finally, last but not least, we have our yeast. So this time through, we're utilizing a yeast that we have not talked about. It is actually one of our house yeasts. It is a British ale house yeast that we've kind of had from day one. And this particular yeast has taken on some different characteristics than what you would anticipate from a British ale. Now, British ale yeasts tend to be dry and crisp and very well balanced. When all is said and done, that is what we're actually doing. But the thing with utilizing house yeast, no matter where you're at, no matter what brewery, they are going to pick up some unique characteristics that you wouldn't normally get with just a straight British ale yeast. So the addition of utilizing our house yeast is something kind of nice, it's unique, kind of makes it our own. So let's go in and let's have our first little taste here. But of course, before we taste, we have to smell. And we pick up on those same notes that we talked about earlier. We pick up on the coffee, we pick up on the toffee, the caramel. Again, it honestly smells like a coffee shop. This first sip is something that I always look forward to for any of our beers because it is a good first impression. And honestly, I haven't had Blonde Barista in a good little bit, which I'm excited about because I like to give beers a break for a little bit despite how much I like them, just so it comes off as, I don't know, a fresh experience. So here we go. First sip. Cheers. Oh yeah. Man, it's crisp. It's crisp. It's light on your palate. You're hit immediately with coffee, which I don't mind because I am a coffee drinker. We're talking half a pot of coffee a day. So, depends on the day, of course. But on top of the coffee, I'm also getting toffee and maybe even a touch of, I want to say maple syrup. This beer is honestly just such a trick on your palate. You would expect this type of flavor profile in something like a porter or something like a stout, but the taste of the coffee in here just is so cool with such a light, approachable beer. And when we talk about this beer at the brewery, sometimes if somebody is wanting something coffee based, sometimes they don't feel like milk stout, we push them towards Blonde Barista because it is honestly very similar to that of a white stout. And so many times people are like, wow, this is outstanding. You were completely right. Well, there you have it. Yet another beer down. I think this makes 10 beers so far. Blonde Barista is honestly nothing to pass up. And it's such a nice, light feel on your palate. But you get that big flavor of the coffee and the toffee and the caramel and a touch of maple syrup in there. You get the sweet notes and the not so sweet notes. It's just such a beautifully balanced beer. It's just It's an orchestra on your palate. It's crisp, it's not overbearing, and it does not leave a weird aftertaste. And you get that dry finish that you guys all know that I love. Now, this particular beer we do not have in 4-packs right now, but we do have it in crowler cans. So if you pop in and you enjoy this beer, get it in a crowler can to go. I know that the brewers are working on getting 4-packs of this beer coming out sometime soon. Hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. And hopefully I will see you at Square Brewing sometime in the near future. Thank you guys for joining us once again. Please like, please subscribe if you like what we're doing here. And until next time, Prost.